know. Fitness. Is that the guys over there? Okay. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
We were born ready.
That's right. Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Vern Glenn of CBS affiliate,
Present.
PIX TV in San Francisco, and Russell Jackman. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. And again, we've got relatively hard football questions.
Okay.
Remember, we only have 100 years of football to cover, right? So it
You
could be
seem to
anywhere
go
from
back to 99 usually.
100 years of pro football.
Yeah, and what was the last game of the 100 years? The 49er game.
That's right.
Lots of the decade.
To the
year,
very last
everything.
second, you know that the ratings were just sky high on something like that.
Oh, well, especially here in the Bay Area, where the show is emanating from.
Yeah.
I would safe to say I would bet you well over 90% of the TV sets that were on that game from 5 p.m. to 8:30.
And even though it wasn't a wild card game, but it was
it was wild.
It had a playoff atmosphere.
It was
had
wild,
a
all right.
atmosphere. Oh yeah,
It was,
no, that was great. It kind of reminded me too of the Super Bowl between the Titans and the Rams.
Yeah.
Where that
Last second,
getting
just
tackled
couldn't get
right
far
before
enough.
he gets in.
It reminded me of the
Atlanta one.
first 49er Super Bowl when Dan Bunce, who also wore number 57, as Dre Greenlaw did on Sunday, made the big, they called it the stop at the goal line to save the game. And that is what Dre Greenlaw did.
And isn't it? It's funny because when you look at the 5 Super Bowl victories, the 2 hardest ones were the Bengals.
Yes. Yeah.
Other than that, they just kind of walked through, San Diego and the Dolphins and Denver. All right, guys, this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, still providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding actually 7.75%. Check them out. Doesn't get any more conservative than that. No losses. Good stuff. PacificPrivateMoney.com. All right, when we come back, we got a lot of football stuff to cover. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. All right. A quick interlude. Yeah, Bruce can't do lunch today. He's kind of still under the weather.
Oh,
so.
that's too bad.
Yeah, so we'll do it like late January because I'm gone the 2nd to the 18th. So we'll just have a couple of ones in the can.
Okay.
All right.
Unless you were brave enough to let me at the helm for a show.
How would you do it?
Well, I could come in here.
Well, the thing is, we have to know when the door's open. That's the problem.
Got it.
But don't worry, we'll just replay, the one we did with Steve Baker, which is good, and maybe this one.
So in other words, we have to say some timeless stuff today.
Yeah, kind of. But it's okay. Let's see here. Oh, I got an email from someone who listened to our Ellen Adair program. Because I never heard of her before, but then he started. We were emailing back and forth. He had some questions on it. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, here's the question.
She's been a regular on the MLB network, especially over the last 3 weeks. I mean, they like to have her on. I mean, she knows. I mean, she knows her stuff.
Yeah.
Big time.
I mean, I don't have all this stuff in my house, but I mean, I have a webcam. I have the ability to record.
Well, no, it has to be. It has to be.
Everything's recording on that, and then you got to upload that. It's
that's
all
the problem.
A lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. I mean, thing is,
you need a board operator.
Unfortunately, that's it. Won't do off of the, webcam or generic stuff. Otherwise, that'd be great. Just do it from an iPhone or something. Right?
Yeah. Well, to be able to do it remotely, because you did do that one remote session, when we.
But that's if you notice, we brought in the board.
Yeah,
because at Pacific Private Money they have the board and all that.
I got it. Okay.
You just love doing this show.
And I don't like having to drive down here all the time if I can avoid it.
Oh, from
Nevada, but there was no traffic today, so.
Oh, that's good.
A lot of people are taking off.
Yeah.
This week.
Yes. That's the best.
Okay. got some kind of fun stuff that I took off the internet about.
Oh, wait, did you see the Rick and Morty one with the snakes?
Yes.
That was hilarious. That made up for how crappy the Dragon episode was.
Yeah.
We'll have to watch this thing.
You do need to watch it.
Oh yeah, it's
You do need to
I'm
watch
going to
it.
put this in. It's called
Now,
Rick
I
and
guess
Morty.
the Rick and Morty.
And
Yeah.
it will expand your mind.
will.
You will gain some use of brain cells you weren't using before.
Isn't it? It's a
I think it's
cartoon,
all.
right?
I think it's all over YouTube, right? Previous episodes.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick and Morty. Okay, we'll check that out. Okay. All right, guys. Here we go. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Russell Jackman and Vern Glenn. Okay, so guys, I don't know if you saw all this kind of fun stuff here. We'll get into the business side of things. Minnesota Vikings kicker Dan Bailey slotted 4 field goals from 4 attempts on Sunday, and while it was not enough to keep his team from the win over Chicago, it did earn him a $1 million bonus. The reason is because his contract included the incentive for making more than 90% of his field goals during the National Football League regular season. And he entered the Bears matchup 23 of 25, which is 92%. So he had no margin for error with his 4 attempts, as a single miss would have brought his average below 90%. And he would
then he wouldn't have gotten the money.
Yeah.
Robbie Gould would be paying the 49ers then. Yeah.
Fortunately for him, he had a good agent and he got his money.
But you know, he had a shank of a kick off, which gave the Seattle Seahawks the ball at 40, and that's they went on to score off of that. And he, in some ways, he could have been a real and not the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
It's funny we say goat, but it's a different kind of goat. Yes.
Yeah, week 17. That is if especially if you're not in it, and then you have incentives built in your contract. That those games are games where you want to hit your mark and kick in that bonus money or all that kind of stuff, because you need that money.
I wonder if he was paying attention. The reason I say that is that there was and I can't remember if it was Gary Carter or another ball player, where if they hit like 2 million in fans seats, selling tickets, that he was going to get like $1 million bonus, and he was like 4 tickets. There was 4 tickets shy.
Oof,
it was ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like someone got to pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So then we have here also cashing in on the final day of the regular season was Tampa Bay Buccaneers pass rusher Jason Pierre-Paul, who ESPN reported needed 1.5 sacks to receive an extra $500,000, and he got 2 in the loss for the Falcons. So he
bought himself another finger.
There you go.
Okay.
He's the guy that blew his hand off with the fireworks.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh man, that was scary. You see the picture?
No.
Oh, it was scary. Yeah, they showed that.
But I don't need to see a picture to know that you lighting off a firework and holding it in your hand is a bad idea.
Yeah, hit up Edward on Sports Econ 101. We want to find out what is the price of a prosthetic finger.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. Let's see. Well, Ronnie Lott, he only lost a little bit of his.
Yeah,
right.
That's just,
and he did it, and when he did it, everyone has made him a legend for it. Pierre-Paul does it to his hand, and everyone says, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Right.
Well, that's because with
it was
Ronnie Lott, I mean, it just happened to happen
heroic.
in a game.
Heroic.
He didn't do anything necessarily stupid. Okay, Philadelphia safety Rodney McLeod got a $250,000 bump in his pay packet after he helped the Eagles win the NFC East over the Giants. And it says here, but not everybody got the job done. Tennessee Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill had to complete 2,750 passing yards and 23 touchdown passes for the season to collect an extra $500,000. He came up 8 yards and a touchdown short. But with a guaranteed contract of $7 million, he's probably not too worried.
Not only that, I mean the Titans are in the playoffs, so the 6th seed in the AFC. You get a playoff share. So
it's usually not $500,000.
No, but I mean if they keep winning, then then that kind of
but still $500,000 is $500,000.
Yeah. No, that's a lot for 8
that's
yards.
That's Russell Jackman money.
Yeah. Is it taxed $500,000? That's my question.
Yeah. No, it's
yeah. Yeah,
So
they don't give any tax-free stuff on that.
No, so it drops down, but still, it's a lot of money. You think about it for a whole season, he probably knows there were 8-yard passes that he could have gotten, out there. And
so $250,000 for each one, because the touchdown one, I mean, you can't do too much about that either. You get it.
What usually happens is if you got a really smart wife that really knows numbers, she can kind of
tell you,
kind of blow in your ear. Okay, this is what because normally the quarterback. I mean, they're just trying to master the game plan because they have to know not only what their job is, they have to know what everybody else's job is offensively. You can't be worrying about.
Plus, it's
can you imagine third quarter? It's 3rd and 12. Oh boy, I better. Oh man, this will kick in if I complete this pass.
Right. Well, the wife says, "Hey, wait a minute.
Exactly.
I don't want the money."
Right.
Right. But it's also one of those things like I don't know if you've if you're shooting pool or if you're trying to play darts, when you know you have to hit something on a specific area or you have to get an 8-yard pass, you're never going to be able to do it. If it's on your mind and you're not playing in your zone, you're thinking, I have to do this.
Right.
You could choke.
Well, that's why I wonder if Dan Bailey knew about the percentages. The fact that it was 92% and he had to kick the 4 field goals.
His agent might have told him that. Because his agent did the deal.
Yeah. And the agent gets the 30% out of that.
No, it's not 30%.
No, it's not. No,
it's like
agent is like 5%.
All right,
well,
30%.
Well, Steve Baker from last week will be going, hey, wait a minute, where's my money?
Yeah,
show me the money. All right, so how do we look here for the rest of the season? Now this show will air on the 4th. So we're recording it just after the 49ers win against Seattle for the last game of the season. So we don't know.
It's also on the day of the set of AFC and NFC wildcard games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, on the 4th, Buffalo Bills, the 5th seed, are at the Houston Texans, and the Tennessee Titans are at the New England Patriots. How about New England?
Jeez.
First time in a decade.
You called it.
That they host a wild card game, and this could be, this could be the.
And it couldn't even beat Miami. That is a sign.
That but Miami always plays them tough. Miami to New England. Miami is the girlfriend that you just could not get over. They walk in the room. They know what buttons to push. It's just the one. Yeah, it's just one team that always plays them tough.
Do you remember the Bears in '85? The one team that beat them was the Miami Dolphins.
How about that? Yeah.
They always seem to be a spoiler.
Always, yeah. They
always kind of hold up the '72 team, to kind of say they owe it for the boys. Make sure there's no undefeated.
And the Dolphins were 17-point underdogs.
Yeah.
In that game.
Yeah. So
and they came back and won it.
Was it in New England?
Yes, it was in New England.
See, that's what surprises me because Miami has been a spoiler, but they play terrible in cold weather normally.
Yeah.
And for them to win in New England, it's a sign that there's just stuff not going right in New England. And you've been talking about that for several weeks.
And this comes to one of my few big questions for the playoffs. Is this it for Tom Brady in New England? And not only that, is it for Bill Belichick? Both of them could walk away. And in the case of Brady, returns to his contract, if he wants to walk away, he can.
Well, he's how old is he now? 41.
He's 42 years old.
42. Wow.
But he has options. He could be the quarterback of the Chargers. He could be the quarterback of the Bears. He could be the quarterback of the Raiders. He could be.
The Browns are probably.
He could be a quarterback. Yeah, he could go to any of those teams. And some of the speculation is that he wants to come back to California or close to California, and so the LA Chargers would be a viable option for him
to play for 1 year.
Well, play for it would
play for another 3 years.
Probably could play for 2-3 years.
All 16 games this season again. And he didn't really get hit a lot. I mean,
he takes care of his body. I mean, he's one of those. My body is a temple, and this is a synthetic that I put into my system.
Gotcha. All right, guys, we're going to cut to a commercial break here, and we're going to start off with relatively hard football questions here. Who was the youngest player ever selected in the first round of the NFL draft?
That's pretty good.
Youngest player ever selected in the first round.
Selected. Okay. And I'll give you a hint on this. The year is 2007. Okay, so it's not not way back, right? Email Edward at
12 years ago.
SportsEcon101. Yeah. Email Edward at SportsEcon101. The answer to this question. Who was the youngest player ever selected in the first round of the NFL draft? Good question, huh?
Let me chew on that.
Yeah. All right. So stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be right back.
Selected doesn't mean that they played. They were selected.
It's funny because this guy has the same last name as another football player, but I don't think it was him. It's an odd name. Last name.
Well, there's a hint.
A little bit.
Odd last name. 12 years, 2007. Oof.
Like I said, it's relatively hard.
Is he still active?
I've never even heard of this guy.
So,
but again, his last name is somebody who I've definitely heard of. And
your last name, 2007. Wow.
You know what? I don't have the team either. Shoot.
Once we get the name, we can look it up.
True.
Can you give us the position?
Might not know it.
I don't have that on here. Sorry. I thought you guys knew everything about 2007. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
No, everything before 2011 when my kids were born is just pretty much a blur at this stage.
2011. That's right, only 8 years old. Wow. Shoot, man, my son's going to be 28 in March.
Damn.
And Sarah is already 22 and a half. Crazy. I know. Let the freaking time go.
Well, we're at the end of the decade. That's probably something.
Zach's going to be 21 in March.
Yeah.
Jake's going to be 19 in February.
First time I ever heard of SpongeBob SquarePants was at his house. When the little one was like that. I'd never heard of it. I go, what? Sponge what?
Yeah.
Square what?
Wow.
Little yellow sponge in Bikini Bottom.
All righty. Ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jackman. First trivia question has these guys stumped. Who was the youngest player ever selected in the first round of the NFL draft? The year was 2007.
Tuiasosopo?
That'd be a good guess. Tuiasosopo? That'd be a really good guess.
I'm throwing that out.
Yeah, because it's a weird last name.
Okay, so 2007, he is Nigerian, and he entered college at age 16, becoming NFL eligible at age 19. Now, okay, so his name is Amobi Okoye. Now,
Okoye.
In relation to Christian
Okoye?
Okoye?
That's what, remember I said the name is the same.
But Okoye could be like Smith.
It could be Smith, yeah. And Christian Okoye played before 2007.
Nigerian Nightmare for the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's right. That's what I remember. Yeah, he was.
Now there's a lot of offspring playing in the NFL. Sons of former players, former greats,
or could be a cousin or something. But I don't remember him at all. So
yeah, I don't remember him either. So I wonder if he ever even played. But he was the youngest one. I said he entered college at age 16, becomes eligible at 19. Must be a big boy.
I guess.
Okay.
What's his name again? What's his first name again?
Amobi, and then Okoye. Amobi. Amobi Okoye.
Oh, here it is.
Who did he get drafted by?
Former Nigerian player. Let's see, drafted by the Houston Texans, 10th overall in the 07 NFL draft.
Yeah.
Played college football at Louisville.
Okay, that's respectable.
Big boy.
Yeah.
Big boy.
But I don't think anything ever came with him.
Let's see here.
Yeah. What's the size?
6'2", 292.
Well, for 292, 6'2" that's nice, short and squat.
Well, he was a defensive tackle, so that's perfect.
There you go.
Perfect size.
Sign him up for wrestling. I think he's those kind of stats.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you figure. So was he playing college football at age 16?
You can.
Yeah. Like as long as you're in there, right?
Yeah, and
man, your bones are still growing though.
I know.
Holy smokes, it's a little scary. That's a problem, like with pitchers. There's a
age 15. he chose the University of Louisville over Harvard.
Wow.
Citing a desire to play for a strong football program.
Wow. What did he major in?
At 16, he became the youngest player in the NCAA.
Yeah.
But sometimes you burn out fast. You start out young, and you look at like for instance Pascal for the Golden State Warriors. He got into the pros when he was relatively older, and he's been a lot more successful, I think, than if he had tried to go younger. I think that we're seeing a trend now that it's better to get players that have a little bit more seasoning on them, because you get someone that's that young, they often burn out before they...
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, you get like a Kobe or LeBron who comes in at age 18, because they're already kind of a man-child, Remember Sean Kemp, the man-child.
And Kevin Garnett. But
So
then
here's more on Okoye. Okay, so he signed a 5-year deal.
Okay.
Played for the Texans for 4 years.
Oh, he did.
Released in 2011. Then hooked on with the Chicago Bears. Played 16 games with the Chicago Bears.
Right.
Then he signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Huh.
Then he came back to the Bears. Then he played 2013 for the Dallas Cowboys.
Huh.
Then the Cowboys released him in 2015. Then he went to the Canadian Football League and played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And then
what
that was
position
it.
was he? What
Defensive tackle.
tackle? I'm surprised that none of us really
Finished playing in
That's
2017.
number of teams to go to.
Was he related to Christian?
I see no relation.
No relation, yeah. It's like you said, it could be
like a Smith, or Jones or something.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
Or Chang in China. Yeah, it's funny. We're thinking of, talking about kids coming into professional sports early. How many of us know high school pitchers who can throw in the high 80s, early, low 90s, and they burn their arms out
very quickly. You're seeing Tommy John surgery happening at younger and younger stages, and it's getting a little distressing. I wouldn't necessarily want to have to deal with my own kids having to go through that sort of, traumatic surgery when they're not even 20 years old.
Yeah, and then how can you be successful after having that surgery when you're that young? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
Big price to pay.
I'll let you when I'm throwing in the 90s. Yeah. I'll let you know.
Well, I told Billy Bean if he ever needs a relief pitcher, I could throw in the high 60s. Throw. I figured he didn't laugh.
Isn't there a fan who's a baller that threw one of those pitching machines at a game, and then where they clock your velocity, and then I think the Oakland A's signed him.
Nice.
Yeah, there's something about
Sorry, what's the story again? What did
he threw?
This guy was a high school pitcher.
Okay.
He attended an Oakland A's game, and when you go to a baseball game now, you have to have attractions at the stadium for younger fans, whether it's wiffle ball or whatever, Anyway,
sure.
So they have this pitching setup where you can throw a baseball against a tarp, and there's a jugs gun or a speed gun that will clock how fast you're throwing.
Okay.
And this guy threw in like the high 80s, low 90s, and the A's signed him.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason it was like a competition against the.
No.
Wow. It's funny. You know how you go to those carnival games and then it's like you're supposed to guess how fast you can throw. And I don't know if you're supposed to get it within 5 miles an hour. I always won. You know how I did it? I guessed 0 and I dropped the ball.
Hey.
Not bad, huh?
That's the way to trick it.
That's
sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
Off your head.
After they beat me over the head with a baseball bat, I had to get out of there. All right. Who will win the Super Bowl, gentlemen?
Oof.
So far, it still looks like Baltimore looks good.
I don't, the way the Ravens are playing, I really don't see anybody in the AFC that can beat these guys. They got a great defense. They got Lamar Jackson. He's got all these weapons, and it's going to take an off season for defensive coordinators to really look at film and study him to diagram a defense to somehow, I don't want to say stop him, but contain him. Whether you got guys that just kind of come off the edge and stay and pinch him in to make him run up the middle and instead of outside, whatever. But Jackson is just it's like Kaepernick when he burst on the scene. Nobody knew anything about this guy. Nobody had any tape on him. Nobody studied up on him. And then all we know is we see a Monday Night Football game and he shreds the Green Bay Packers.
But I don't believe enough in the Baltimore defense. They don't have the kind of, as a team, they don't have the stop defenders that I think they need.
But the Ravens can outscore you.
Well, that's always a dangerous game to play in the playoffs. Refs call things a little bit tighter.
Maybe getting more conservative on the play calling.
Yeah, and their running game outside of Lamar is obviously somewhat suspect.
But here's the thing: they're the number 1 seed in the AFC, so everything comes through Baltimore. So they got the bye. So even if you're a number 2 seed like the Kansas City Chiefs, you got to go to Baltimore.
That will
and I don't know if you guys have been to that stadium, but man, that is a tough place to play for an opponent. I mean that place is tough. The Saints, the Chief Arrowhead Stadium. I mean those are some. I mean even Seattle. I mean those are really tough places to go in there and get it done.
And yet, in an old wrestling quote that was said by Ric Flair, to be the man, you've got to beat the man.
Beat the man.
That is true.
And New England is still there. They haven't looked good, but all they have to do is make to the playoffs, which they've done. And we know that Belichick's a genius. We know that Tom Brady can shift it to another gear. Can the rest of the team do that? I'm just never going to count New England out until they're out.
And here's the other question. The team that they bumped off in the AFC Championship game last year, the Kansas City Chiefs, could this be the year for Andy Reid and the Chiefs?
They've sort of flown under the radar, as much as a great team as they are. With all the talk there is about Baltimore, nobody really is taking the Chiefs seriously. And they had, Mahomes getting hurt earlier in the season. So, they looked a little bit more human. But now in the last few weeks, they've looked back to what they have been, last year. And they are an extremely dangerous team. I'm not entirely sure Baltimore has the defensive stature to be able to stop either Kansas City or New England. I'm just wondering about that.
I like the Chiefs, though. I mean, it's a fun place to go watch them play, Arrowhead Stadium. The environment is great. I mean, it's insane. And then I got a little thing for Andy Reid. He he's coached for 21 years. Yeah. He's been to the playoffs 15 times, never won a Super Bowl. Coached in one with the Eagles, but never won one. But now it's a no excuses year. I mean, he has all the weapons, at least offensively, and I wouldn't bet against him,
and
not at all.
Meanwhile, NFC, you know,
49ers.
I'm pointing at.
For the audience,
I just
Russell has a 49ers shirt on. Hey, sweatshirt. Okay, got to cut to a commercial break here. Again, we're talking relatively hard. Actually, you guys will get this one. You got to boost your egos a little bit here. Which NFL team has the longest season ticket waiting list?
Oof.
And you got to give me the exact number of season ticket holders who are waiting.
To the person.
To the person, yeah. All right. Listen, how many teams you got to choose from?
30.
There you go. Yeah, okay. All right, got 30 teams to choose from.
With the longest waiting list.
Stay with us. Okay. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. All right.
That's not as easy as you think. I mean, obviously it's 1 out of 30, but
okay, it's not the Chargers. I'll just give you a
thank you.
They aren't.
And it's not the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It should be the Raiders because they're not
Raiders.
They're not even in their new stadium yet.
So Packers could be in there. The Cowboys could be in there.
New England could be there.
New England could be in there.
Niners not anymore.
No, not the Niners.
Not anymore. They were back in Candlestick.
The Bears, possibly. I mean, it's got to be one of the old established franchises.
I think it's Green Bay.
I think it's Green
Bay. They've got such a small market. It's such an isolated town. It's the only thing to do in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah, even though it's 40 minutes outside of Milwaukee, but longest waiting list.
Have you ever had to go there like in a super cold? Just so you may happen to mention.
Yeah.
Green
Oh
Bay,
yeah.
so.
Yeah. When I turn, I could
let's
talk
do
about this on the air. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101 one more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jack. And second trivia question, which NFL team has the longest season ticket waiting list?
I'm going to guess the Green Bay Packers.
You would be correct.
All right.
Now, exactly how many people are waiting?
God,
let me guess though. I'm going to guess that they've got at least 40,000 waiting.
I'm going to say more like, I'll go 15,000.
You ready for this? 100,000 names, and
wow.
the wait is 30 years.
30.
Now, aren't they traded on the stock exchange?
Yeah, it's the only team in the NFL where
it's
publicly owned. How about that?
Okay, now we're just as we were coming back, we were talking because you mentioned Green Bay. I wasn't going to give you a hint, but I was going to ask you, Vern. Have you ever had to go to Green Bay in the cold, right there on the field, doing your show?
The answer is yes. Okay, I turned 30 and I turned 40 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I was there for playoff games, both games of which the 49ers lost. But the first time I went, I was like, okay, Green Bay, I'm excited about it. It's a historic Lambeau Field. Yeah. All the streets around the stadium are named after Packer greats. So I go to the North Face store, and I don't get paid by North Face. But true story. And I get the what do you call it? A balaclava? What the thing? The thing you put over your. I got that.
I have that for the motorcycle.
I get the parka. I get the gloves. Yeah. I mean, I am ready for it.
You look like the little kid from Christmas Story.
Yeah,
exactly. Ralphie.
Exactly.
Or Ralphie's brother. Yeah, actually the one who fell out.
So we fly into Green Bay, okay, and it's at night, and we get off the plane, and we're walking through, and we go to get the rental car, and it's a sliding glass door that opens. It opens. The wind came in and ripped right through me like I was Swiss cheese.
I believe that.
Oh my God! It was so unbearably cold.
How cold was it?
It was. It had to been single digits, and it was windy.
Yeah, that's the killer.
And and it was windy. But the next day, the next day hits. Yeah. It's the day before the game, so you have to go and do in TV what we call a scene setter. So you do like a little package on Green Bay to kind of show to your viewing audience. So I'm there lying down. I'm doing snow angels. I'm doing all that. Just giving the flair of what Green Bay, Wisconsin is like. But the day of the game, it was cold and it was rainy, and that particular year, the story was the health of Steve Young. Steve Young had cracked ribs, but he didn't practice much, but he took these cortisone shots, these injections, just so he was able to play. It was so painful. He only lasted a couple of plays and had to come out of the game.
Wow.
Was that Gerback had to come in?
I'm not sure
if it
Bono?
was.
No, it wasn't Bono.
No, Bono was before that, I think.
It might have been Elvis Gerback.
Yeah.
Or Druckenmiller.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember him?
Boy, yeah, unfortunately.
But they came in, but man, oh good Lord, it was cold. And I remember after the game, I went up to Gary Plummer, who was a linebacker on the team, and he was just covered in mud and he
kept him warm.
And he could barely talk. He was just like, we're talking everywhere. I mean, it was so cold. It is such a huge advantage for the Packers to play in
What do you think their fate's going to be in the playoffs?
Green Bay?
Yeah.
I like it. So long as they have Aaron Rodgers, as long as they have number 12, Green Bay is going to be in it. And Green Bay has they have a bye, and so they're going to host a divisional game, and so and whoever comes in there, Green Bay is going to have a tremendous advantage, especially if it's somebody like the Saints, who used to playing indoors. I mean, it's
well, you look at who the 49ers are going to have to go up against. and you have Drew Brees, who's already won a Super Bowl. You've got Aaron Rodgers, who's already won a Super Bowl. You have Russell Wilson, who's already won a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And so the NFC, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is like one of the few quarterbacks who hasn't either been in or won a Super Bowl.
But of all the quarterbacks who are in there, the heat is on Carson Wentz, who has to live forever in the shadow of Nick Foles, the backup, who came in while Wentz was hurt and won the first and only Super Bowl the Eagles have ever won.
Ever win.
Yeah, so Carson Wentz has to live that down, and the Eagles have been playing great as of late. I mean, and they.
I would say the Eagles are playing okay.
Well, I'm talking in the last few weeks they played well enough. I mean, to scramble and win the NFC East.
Yeah, so, but then with an
9-7
record
or
9-7, yeah. I mean, they're going to be out within a game.
Doesn't matter.
I don't think anyone takes them seriously.
It doesn't matter. You just have to get in the tournament at this point. Everybody's got a 0-0 record coming in, as far as I'm concerned.
But do you really think the Eagles have what it takes to go far in the playoffs?
I think for as cold as it's going to be outside, I think that's going to be a factor for Seattle coming in. Seattle even is a slight underdog coming into that game.
Which is I find surprising. I think Seattle will pretty much dismantle Philadelphia. Philadelphia has looked bad in some big games, especially like against Dallas down the stretch. They should have
only
looked
half
a lot
the
better.
games are played at home, so you can say Seattle plays, in New Orleans. But
35 years, I've seen some funky things, man.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Russ. Hey, let's suit you up. Let's put you in 32-degree weather. Let's have you run around out there and try and catch a football.
Well, remember, all of them.
All right,
it's
yeah, Vern. Then I can put you in the ring.
Let alone grip the football. I mean, it's
yeah, I know. But
these
each team has that though.
But the Eagles are used to play or conditioned to play in that. All the time because of where they are.
That is true. It's funny. It reminds me of a story with John Vella from the old Oakland Raiders team. And he and I were talking, and we talked about his career after Oakland. He went to Minnesota for a year in 1980. Bud Grant was still the head coach. And John comes out with, for practice, and it's cold out, and he's got gloves. And the offensive coordinator comes out and says, hey, John, you got to get rid of the gloves. Bud doesn't like anybody, using gloves.
Because it shows weakness.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. And John goes, what? He goes, I'm a veteran here. He goes, I'm out of here. And that was his last season.
Well, this has been something that people talked a lot about this season too. Do you think it's fair for Philadelphia to host, being 9-7, being able to host a team that's got 12 wins?
Well, division winner doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Those are the rules. You win.
They are the rules now, but a lot of people have talked about changing those rules so that it doesn't work that way.
Well, you can talk about it all you want. I mean, it's great fodder for us to talk about.
That's why I brought it up.
But until it happens, dem's the rule.
Do you think it should be that way? Because that's
actually, I agree with you. I think
NBA.
Yeah, I think it should. I think it should be the better record should get to
host
yeah.
the.
I mean, just because let's say you're in a lousy division, just by the
But then what incentive do you have? What reward do you get for winning your division?
Well, you got to get a good record.
Yeah, you're in the playoffs.
I mean, that's why you try even harder to get to win every game so that you can, not just win the division. That's good.
But these divisions, at least on paper, it's not an even playing field. If using that logic, I mean, the no wonder the Patriots get 10, 12 wins a year because they could just shred the AFC East. But the NFC least, I mean, everything, there's parity up and down. Anybody could win that division.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you should be able to get the home field advantage. Over a team that did win 12 games like Seattle, and Seattle had a lot of very tough competition to win those 12 games, including,
I kind of agree with you on that.
Yeah, I've always thought that when you get to the playoffs, the divisions are sort of especially if we go into the NBA, the divisions are meaning so little that they don't even really, when they publish the standings now, they don't even
almost
show
every
you,
team makes it.
Yeah, they don't show you Pacific and Northwest and all of those regions anymore. They just give you East and West and what the playoff rankings are.
I think hockey does it right though. I mean, they come out with those seedings, playoffs hit, and in the first round, one plays 8 and 7 plays 2 and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They go through the first round, and then whatever happens, they reseed.
And that wouldn't be a bad thing either.
Isn't that great?
That's a cool way.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, at the helm at the NFL, listen to Sports Econ 101. Vern's got the right idea. Just like hockey.
You
I don't disagree with you on that.
You can send us playoff tickets. That's a great idea.
Hey, I know you got to go. Do we have time?
Yeah, we have a couple minutes.
Back to the 49ers. Do you think the way he's been playing through the month of December, particularly coming out with a win against the Seattle Seahawks, you think Jimmy G can get some kind of love, or is he still is he still subject to I don't know about Jimmy G.
Did you see all those passes? I mean, he had guys like wide open, and they made him have to dive for it.
But he didn't throw any interceptions yesterday.
Well,
that was a big thing. No brain dead throws. He knew not to throw it when he was in trouble.
And in the second half of that game, he did not throw an incompletion.
No, there were definitely 2 or 3 passes that were like right on the money. That were really, really, really good passes. But in the beginning, first thing he does, he takes a sack.
He's still in that quote unquote first year of really being in a full season. That's the other thing that we still forget is that, he's maybe now at game 20 or whatever in his pro career.
And he comes back from an ACL knee injury.
Yeah.
Does that.
Yeah, that I agree. That's got to be tough when you come back. They were talking about Clowney versus Staley. And
Jadavian?
Yeah. And each one of them had, an injury, like when Staley was injured, and it's just like Clowney just went right over him and vice versa.
He wasn't playing in the first game. Staley didn't play in the first game.
I can't remember who he was guarding. But,
speaking of Staley, you realize he's the only one on that roster that had previously won a game with the Niners in Seattle.
Yeah, it's
2011.
Goes back to when my kids were like 3 months old. I still remember that.
Yeah, so it had to be especially great for him.
Oh yeah, and he's like the glue that holds that whole team together. That goes back to the Harbaugh Super Bowl year. So that he's the one guy that can guide them, give them that kind of like playoff experience because most of the other guys don't have it. I mean, Garoppolo does, but it's from the bench. And
how often
Sanders
did he play because he was backing up
Not
Brady?
at all.
Yeah,
and Brady played 16 games. I mean, when
he
he
got
hasn't
hurt.
the only time he had to play was only suspension.
I think he started maybe 3
Deflate
games. Two of them were for the Brady suspension.
Yeah.
Remember Brady got suspended 4 games.
Yeah.
Two of those games.
Or when they were up by 20 points with 3 minutes to go, they didn't put him in.
No, even then, Belichick didn't really do that much.
No.
He and instead they really emphasized the running game when they were up by a lot.
Yeah.
But you also notice that New England doesn't blow a ton of people out. They have always just sort of done what they need to do to win. And that's what gotten them where they are today. But I think that the Niners are showing a lot of experience trial by fire, and that's going to come in handy when they're playing in the playoffs.
Very good. All right, guys, last trivia question is, which player was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame at a younger age than anyone else?
Okoye.
So essentially the youngest inductee to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I don't know why it's worded this way, but that's our question.
I got a guess on that. I have 2 guesses on that.
All right. Okay. Don't look at the answer. I knew you're looking at my page here. Don't look at that answer when it comes out.
My eyesight's that good? You think my eyesight's that good? No,
with the glasses, yeah. All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments. I always used to go, hey, don't be looking at my page.
If I could read that well upside down.
So you're eligible 5 years after you
are done. Yes.
So
I'm guessed.
Could be Jim Brown, could be Barry Sanders.
Do you have a year on it?
Could be.
I don't, but I'll give you the age when we come back.
Could be Barry Sanders, could be Jim Brown. Well, could be Gale Sayers. I'm thinking of guys who
George Blanda.
Yeah. That's the other end of the spectrum.
I'm thinking of guys who were just boom, automatic, like the moment they're eligible, who and in the case of
But
Sayers played 5 years.
Yeah, Sayers makes sense because he had to retire quickly. You know? And so then he was not old. Because that's the other thing is that, yes, you're eligible for the Hall of Fame 5 years after, but a lot of these guys have played, 12, 14 years. Like Jerry Rice or someone like that. Yeah, he's an instant Hall of Famer, but he had already played so many years, so he wasn't exactly young. It's hard to be young. Hard to be young and qualify for the Hall of Fame because, Hall of Fame, you have to build up records.
True. And then Jim Brown played.
I'm going to go with Gale Sayers. I'm going to go with Gale Sayers.
Yeah, I'm going to go Gale Sayers too. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jackman. Ooh, trivia question, the last one. Which player
of the decade? The last trivia question of the decade.
Of the 2019.
Well, no, remember that this show is airing on January 4th.
For us, it is.
Yes, for us, yeah, that's true. Which player was inducted in the Hall of Fame at a younger age than anyone else?
Or the youngest inducted. So Russ and I have been talking, off the air. We're coming up with the Kansas Comet.
Yeah, Gale Sayers, because he just didn't have that long of a career.
Ding, 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 ding. That is
all right. Yeah,
okay. Logic wins.
Yes, age 34. You made all the very good points. You have to have someone who's young enough, but played enough to to all that. I think it was 5 or 6 touchdowns against the 49ers.
He even made the
six.
He even made the top 100 of the top 100 players when ESPN was doing their top 100. Gale made it.
Yeah, there's the famous story that Paul Hornig, another Hall of Fame great back, talked about. It might have been 1965. He's like, "Hey man, I went to the locker room, man. I scored 5 touchdowns, man. I thought, wow, this is great." And then he finds out, Gale Sayers had 6 on the same day. On the same day against the 49ers. And I believe in those feats, it was a punt return, and the rest of them were rushing touchdowns.
Speaking of massive touchdowns in a day, I know you got to wrap it up. But what about the guy from LSU?
Joe Burrow?
Yeah, Joe Burrow. And
7 touchdowns, touchdown passes in one half, and he accounted for 8 in the game in the semifinal win over Oklahoma. My God.
Even Al Bundy would be impressed.
Thoughts for the day. Oh, those millennials. We just got a fax at work. They didn't know we had a fax machine. The entire department just stared at it. And one of them poked it with a stick.
Until they kicked it like in Office Space.
That's right, exactly, yeah. And I just burned 2,000 calories. That's the last time I leave brownies in the oven while I take a nap.
Oh, but no, hey, that's may I use that
yes,
one?
You absolutely.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening.
Happy New Year, everybody.
On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
Oh,
Happy New Year.
I thought you'd like that one.
That's funny.
That's a little short. I mean, it's only 10:48. I thought we were.
Hey man, we were cooking with gas, man. We didn't waste any time.
Well, it's good because I got to run up to Nevada to do the business show.
He's got a thing.
I got a thing.
Now what's the setup in Nevada? Similar?
Yeah, we set one up exactly the same. That thing
in the private. I've done that once.
Yes, you have.
Wow, so you have a separate setup in Nevada. It's not like you have to grab all this stuff and haul it up. That would be a pain.
That would be quite a pain.
Yeah,
absolutely.
How much time do you need to set up when you walk in here?
So what I do is, because I leave this all like this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the only thing I do is turn this on and then plug these guys in and then start up the computer. Because otherwise it'd be such a hassle. It's.
Right.
I can't afford to have all these extras like you.
Yeah.
People you have to hire to carry your equipment.
Oh,
that's right. You carry it by
yourself.
No,
you're looking at it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're looking at the grip.
The grip, yes, that's right. Then I got to put it in this bad boy here. And we got 49 minutes, so we've got 7 minutes to shoot the stuff, as they say, before I can throw this on to CMCM.
So yeah, well, I was impressed that you've been you called the LSU quarterback.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you've been touting him for quite a while, actually, and
he'll be the #1 pick of the Cincinnati Bengals.
I know,
guaranteed.
How sad is it
they
that
need
the
it.
Browns couldn't actually beat the Bengals on that last day, and it cost Kitchens his job.
Well, that's Well, Kitchens lost the locker room a handful of weeks ago, and when you lose the confidence of the players, you are done.
But we all thought the Browns would be something more than what they were this year.
I didn't buy into it. I mean, everybody got excited. Oh man, they're the sexy pick. Yeah, and then
bring back Johnny Manziel.
Yeah,
it just goes to show you, these guys. I mean, all 30. I mean, these are grown, professional men. I mean, it's not like college. It's not like high school where you just pick out the weak teams. I mean,
but
anytime
Mayfield was supposed to be the man. Yeah. I mean, last year, he was supposed to make the big leap this year and take him, and especially when he was given a weapon like Odell Beckham.
Yeah, but you know what? Russ, they're all great with time. All of them. All of them are great. When you give them time, you give them 4 seconds.
Okay, yeah.
They're all great.
I thought you meant like over years.
No, but when
sure.
protection breaks down,
Goff
and you go through your progressions and things break down.
Well,
it's the ones that rise to the top are the ones that make the right decision, and that's why. That's why guys like Rodgers and Breeze, they're just so great.
What's interesting is that they got a great running back in Nick Chubb. He's one of the top runners. So you'd think that Mayfield would have had less pressure on him. He could be using the running back, in ways that they hadn't been able to use in Cleveland since, like I'm trying to think the last time that Cleveland had a decent running back.
But you got to have great guards and tackles. You got to have great
Jim
blocking
Brown.
Tight ends. You got to.
That goes back a little. I mean, Biner. They had Biner.
Yeah, Biner was good. Did you hear about Antonio Brown though?
Yeah.
With the Saints, and then he brings his entourage.
Great workout with the Saints, and this, that, and the other.
Don't bring your entourage. What does he do? He brings his entourage.
Why do you think the Saints would want a distraction like that when they're on a roll?
Well, first of all,
they lost Ingram.
First of all, even if they did sign him, he wouldn't be able to play until next year, because once he's signed and he joins the Saints, he automatically goes into the commissioner's exemption list, and because he has to show contrition for his actions.
Yeah, I'm surprised he never got suspended for what he did.
Well, he's not on a team.
But they can still announce a suspension, say, when you do come with a team.
And they will. Once he joins a team, then they will.
Yeah, well.
So he joins a team, and then they say, oh, by the way, you can't play.
Oh, sure.
They should. They should. I mean, what he did to the Raiders and to New England was a big stain on the,
but maybe they didn't want to, and the teams are not wanting to pull a, Kaepernick type of, see, look, we're open to, hiring anybody.
Right.
We're not prejudiced against what you do on the field or off the field or anything.
Yeah, but Antonio Brown's a different scenario for any team. And I would think if you're, on a roll like the Saints are, you just don't want to have anything that,
I agree. I wouldn't want him on my team.
And they got a guy named Michael Thomas who's just been just racking up receiving yards.
Yeah, that's true. They're not. I mean, Ingram's out, but they have some other good
many
players.
Webb, Kamara. They just
they get him to
they're
trade
just good.
Who wants him?
Who wants him? What's his value?
I agree. I would just kind of say.
And it's not like the fan base is going to be thrilled knowing that Brown is coming forward. After what he did with the Raiders, I think he really burned his bridges in a lot of spots. And most teams, other than New England, that really needed the wide receiver help. Yeah. And when he couldn't make it work in New England, I think now a lot of people are like, hands off. And in another couple of years, you'll see sort of like with Marshawn Lynch, the league moves fast while you're outside
because Edward, depending on who you are, buys you chances. And arguably Antonio Brown, when he's right, is the best receiver in the league.
Yeah, he's good.
a couple of years ago. And now he's not the best receiver in the league because there are other guys that filled in that hole. And, you know, you can see, as we said, Marshawn Lynch yesterday, not what he was.
Yeah, no, yeah,
14 months
good
ago.
run and that's the thing is you're out of football.
he
you got to be whacking people.
He had 10 carries for 34 yards. That's 3.4 yards a carry. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but was he on one?
Well, his longest rush was 15 yards, and that the stadium lost their mind when he scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
Skittles just came raining onto the field.
It did, but they knew they couldn't rely on him as a running back. They couldn't go to him, 3 downs,
he made 60 grand for that
but you can't deny if when that ball was at the 1 and then they had a little brain fart, and then they went back to the 6.
The delay of game
that cost them.
You know who was going to carry that football.
Yeah.
First and goal at the 1. You know
he
who's
was
going to do
make
that.
the same Super Bowl mistake.
right. In fact, his chin strap is he's running in there.
But
the delay cost him.
That was maybe the delay of game of the century.
Yeah.
At least so far, I think it'll be known.
Totally agree.
People will remember that delay of game probably for decades.
You're probably talking about that right now on Seattle radio.
They were.